Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. I am spending another day in my long border. I just spent a day planting a whole bunch of plants in this long border that I have on the south side of my property the other day. So if you didn't catch that video, make sure you watch it. This garden bed is a very long and very narrow garden bed. And when I first moved into this property, the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this garden bed was the long border at Great Dixter. Now, I've never been to Great Dixter. It is definitely on my list of a place that I want to go visit, hopefully very soon. It's located in England, but I haven't been there yet. But of course, everything I've read about it and all the pictures that I've seen, it's enough to be quite an inspiration for this garden bed that I have right here in my garden. So the long border at Great Dixter was designed by a gentleman named Christopher Lloyd. And Christopher Lloyd was really well known for his use of blooms, the different colors, the different shapes and heights, and the different textures. And in the long border at Great Dixter, which is about a 200-foot long garden bed, he has used perennials to create quite a show. Now, in England, the gardening season is a lot shorter than my gardening season here. However, Christopher Lloyd has managed to choose the right plants so that he does have, or they do have, blooms pretty much all season long, from March to October. Now, they do say the peak of the long border is June and July, but they do have blooms all season long, which is really my goal for this long border. Now, we all know that when we plant shrubs and when we plant perennials, they do take a while to get going. They take some time. The old adage is sleep, creep, leap, which means the first year they sleep, they don't really do anything. The second year they start to creep, they start to grow a little bit, you start seeing some life, but then their third year, their third season, they absolutely go crazy. And I am really on my creep year for my garden. And so I don't have much going on right here in my long border. And I thought, well, why don't I put in annuals in the meantime so that I can get some blooms, I can get some life in there while I'm waiting for some other shrubs like this lavender or like the crepe myrtle off to the left side of the frame right here. If I put in some annuals, I'm going to get some blooms immediately. Now, I'm really, really lucky in that I live in zone 9B. So a lot of what you would call an annual is actually a perennial or a temperennial for me. So a lot of plants that I'm planting today are called Virtuoso Vibrant Violet. That's another tongue twister that I have. Another tongue twister that I planted in this garden bed was Angel Face Blue Angelonia. Look at that, I said it. So this vibrant violet dahlia is actually hardy in my zone, and I'm planting a whole bunch of them right now, and they're gonna bloom this beautiful, like, vibrant violet color. That's a beautiful way to say it and to describe it. And although it's technically sold as an annual, for me, it's going to be used as a perennial. So it's one I am going to leave in there for subsequent seasons. Another plant that I'm planting is a Star Diva white Scaevola. I'm planting that just in front of the Dahlias, and it will kind of be like an understory plant to the Dahlias that are a little bit taller. And then behind it, I am planting another white one, which is unplugged white Salvia. So I think that these three plants are going to add quite a bit of color to the long border garden bed I'm just working on it. I'm just trying to get it figured out. My goal for a lot of my garden is to be able to curate it in a way that I have seasonality to it, that I have life to it throughout the season. It's one of the reasons why I'm really focused on my blooming garden this year and last year. My blooming garden project is a project that I'm doing where I am planting something that is going to bloom every month of the year so that I have something blooming in my garden every month of the year, which is what I think Christopher Lloyd was trying to do with the long border. It's easier said than done, though. I mean, we all know that plants come into their peak around this time of year, at least for me in Northern California. It's spring, everything's starting to warm up, the soil temperature's starting to warm up, and things are starting to go crazy in an absolutely beautiful way. So it does take a little bit of effort to make sure that you have blooms earlier in the season and later in the season when maybe it's not peak time. So that's what I'm planning to do with this long border, but I'm kind of cheating a little bit right now by putting in these annuals, because these annuals are bred to bloom absolutely all season long. So it's kind of my cheat code to get some color in there and to be able to enjoy it for my entire season, which really lasts from February all the way through November. Now, a really common question that I get asked a lot, for those of you who are new to either gardening YouTube or gardening in general, is what is the machine that I'm using right now? What I'm using right now is called an auger, and it is a machine that you can attach to your drill that helps dig holes in the ground for plants. Now, the auger that I'm using right now is called a twist and plant auger, and that's from Proven Winners, which is the company that grows these beautiful plants that I'm planting right here. And their auger is the exact size for their grande pot. So it fits absolutely perfectly, and it makes my planting job so much easier. And you just buy the auger and then you attach it to a drill that you have at home, a cordless drill. Now, there are lots of augers that you can buy on the market, but I always recommend to people that you invest in your auger, because I have bought cheap augers, like the $10 ones you get at the big box store, and unfortunately they don't work. I think it's the metal is not hard enough, and the part that goes into the drill ends up getting scraped off, and so it'll just spin in your drill. So you really have to spend the money and buy a good one. I like Power Planter is a really good company that does augers, and my big auger is from Power Planter. So the main thing that I use is I use my small one, my twist and plant one, and then I use my bigger auger from Power Planter. However, if you do get a bigger auger, you do have to get a bigger drill. You have to invest in a big drill that can handle the weight of the bigger auger. This small twist and plant one I can use with just my 18-volt drill, which is not a problem. So now that all the holes were dug, it was time for me to start planting all these plants. I'm using the Proven Winners slow release fertilizer in each planting hole. This is Monty, for those of you who don't know. He is in almost every shot, and I spend a lot of my editing time cutting out pictures or shots of his butt because he doesn't understand where the camera is. But one of the things I think he really likes it when I'm wearing these gardening gloves, because they have latex or rubber on the underside, and I think it just feels really good for him. So he will absolutely demand pets, and I know I cut it out, but I was sitting here petting him for about 5 minutes before I started planting, and then he finally left me alone. So I did plant a couple of this ageratum or floss flower. This is Artist Blue, and my mom actually turned me on to this plant. This plant is a gorgeous color. Once it starts blooming a lot, you can kind of see little bits of it right now, but once it starts blooming a lot, it is the most gorgeous lavender blue color. I have a lot of people ask me why they call flowers blue that actually look lavender or purple, and I honestly don't know the answer to that. It's kind of just, there are true blue flowers that I've seen, but they're very, very rare, and I think that they're just trying to distinguish between purple and lavender flowers. But if any of you know, make sure you put it in the comments section, because I'd love to know a little bit more, because it's one of the most common questions I get asked, and I really just don't know. So anyway, I just continued on with planting. I just sprinkled a little bit of the fertilizer in each planting hole. All of this soil was actually amended with a couple inches of compost last year, and that made a huge difference for when I plant in this area, because this area, when we first moved in, the native soil here is not good. I think that the previous owners, or a couple owners ago, they used it to kind of dump cement or rocks or something like that. So it was really, really terrible soil. So it definitely had to be amended. And the way that we amend our soil in our garden is we do the no-till method, where we just put about 6 inches of compost on top, straight on top. We don't till it in, and then we add arborist wood chips on top of that. And it makes a really, really big difference. I would love to add even more compost to this area, but that's just going to be with time. For the no-till method, you're just constantly adding compost. You're constantly adding organic matter to your garden, and I promise you, your garden will thank you. We haven't even been here 2 years yet, and the soil in my garden has completely transformed just from adding the couple inches of compost wherever we have added. And the places that we haven't added it, you can really see it is a nightmare to plant in. Now, if you're wondering what this bright yellow, electric yellow shrub is in the front of this frame here, this is called candy corn Spyhea from Proven Winners. And I have 3 of them planted there. Mine are just babies. They're going to get about 2 feet tall and 2 feet wide. And they're this beautiful pineapple yellow color this time of year. But I think that this plant really shines in the late winter, early spring, when the new foliage is just coming out, and the new foliage is this candy apple red color that is so incredibly beautiful for that time of year. I love this plant, especially where I planted it, because when I'm sitting on the gazebo or when I'm sitting on my porch drinking my coffee in the morning, the sun rises behind these plants and the foliage almost glows. It is so incredibly beautiful. And I think that this plant is the perfect example of what I want this long border to eventually turn into, which is a seasonality, a succession of blooms and interest throughout the season, starting maybe with the candy corn Spyhea with the new foliage coming out, then moving on to the poster amethyst buddleia and the crepe myrtle blooms, and then finally ending up with the purple hopseed bush with its deep burgundy red foliage. I just want, my goal is to get that ebb and flow of my garden in this garden bed, very similar to what Christopher Lloyd did in Great Dixter, or at Great Dixter. I did want to give you all an update on my raspberry superbena that I am suspecting I have budworms on, and I'm almost positive I do because I did find some on my supertunias. This is not what a superbena should look like. A superbena and a supertunia and a superbells, they're all bred to have a characteristic to it of burying the dead, which means the new blooms should cover the old blooms, and you should never see old blooms like you're seeing on this plant here. So budworms is a pest that I deal with very commonly in my garden, and budworms will attack verbenas, they'll attack petunias, and they'll attack geraniums. So if you see any one of those plants that seem to be struggling and not blooming as much as you would expect, I want you to consider that you might have budworms. Budworms are notorious for hiding and being really sneaky buggers, and the only way that you can really get rid of budworms is to spray something called BT, which is a naturally occurring chemical in soil, and you can buy concentrate or ready-to-use spray, and you spray it on the plants. And Jason actually did that earlier this morning when the sun was just rising. He sprayed BT all over the garden because we're starting to see signs of budworms right now, which is, it's such a bummer, but it comes every single year. It's almost like it's to be expected. So I wanted to make sure that I showed you all a little clip of what a plant should not look like, so that you can look at it and you can see like, oh, something's wrong. I need to do something about this. I need to address it, whether it be spraying BT or fertilizing it more or watering it, whatever it is. A superbena, a supertunia, and a superbells should not look like that. So after I finished getting all these plants in the ground, I started watering them in, and I'm watering them in really, really well. And not only am I watering the plants in, but I'm watering the surrounding soil as well. And the reason why I'm doing that is because this soil was so incredibly dry that if I just watered in the holes where I planted the plants, the surrounding soil would basically suck up that water, and it would take it away from the plant's roots and take it away from where I really want the water water to go. So not only was I watering the plants, but I was kind of watering the soil surrounding the plants, which is a bit of a waste of water. And you could avoid that by planting when it's not so hot, which is really hard for us because we're hot most of the season. Or you could plant earlier on during the day. But it's a tip that I definitely like to do when I'm planting when it's hot outside. It was about 87 degrees today, and plants will start showing signs of heat stress around 86 degrees. And so you can see all of these plants here, especially the unplugged white salvia, they're all super, super stressed out, and they don't like being planted at this time. So I just wanted to make sure that I did a really good watering, not only to each plant, but also to the surrounding soil, so the surrounding soil doesn't rob the plant of that precious water. So last but not least, I just wanted to show you all my orchard garden bed with this beautiful view that I have here. This garden bed has a lot of pastels, some pinks, some lavenders, some whites, but with the addition of the hot and cold Kniphofia, the orange Kniphofia back there, man, doesn't that just make this garden bed? So I want to show you this to say, don't be afraid of color. It can bring some really beautiful life to your garden. Play with it. If you don't like it, you can always take it out, but it could really be something special. I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.